I'm Daniel, and for as long as I can remember, I've always been the quiet one. The kid who didn't ask for much, who kept to himself, who got good grades, didn't make waves, and tried to make my parents proud in the hopes they might one day see me not just as their son, but as someone who mattered. This story starts 2 months before high school graduation, but it really goes back much further back to a childhood filled with whispered comparisons, tight-lipped dinners, and a sister who, for whatever reason, always sparkled more brightly in their eyes than I ever could. My sister, Lily, is a year younger than me. She's pretty, popular, and loud, in the kind of way that makes adults smile and say things like, "What a personality." Growing up, it didn't matter what I did. If she got a B and I got an A, they'd ask me why I didn't help her study. If I won an award, they'd say, "Well, Lily's more of a people person." When I made the honor roll for the 4th year in a row, Mum literally said, "It's not like you're curing cancer, Daniel." I used to brush it off, tell myself it didn't matter, that one day they'd see what I was worth, that if I just worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, maybe, just maybe, they'd finally say, "We're proud of you." That never came. Senior year, I started applying to colleges. I did it alone. No one offered to help, and I didn't ask. While Lily was getting a new iPad to help with studying and going on weekend trips with Mum to tour high schools she'd already decided not to attend, I was juggling part-time work at the campus library, filling out applications at night, and trying not to collapse under the pressure. I didn't even tell anyone I applied to MIT, not because I didn't think I could get in, but because I knew how it would go. They'd scoff, say something like, "That's cute, Daniel, but be realistic." So I kept it to myself, all of it. A few weeks before the acceptance letters came in, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. I remember it so clearly because it was one of the only times in my life they actually called me to talk. Not yelled, not lectured, talked. Dad had this look on his face, tight-lipped, eyes shifting, like he was already expecting me to make a scene. Mum didn't even sit. She leaned on the counter like she was just dropping in for a quick word. Lily was in the living room, pretending not to listen, but obviously waiting for the outcome. "We've been thinking," Dad said slowly, as if he were testing the words, "about your college fund." I blinked. "Okay." Mum cut in, "Lily's been going through a rough time, and with her grades, well, she's improving. She just needs some encouragement." My stomach dropped. I already knew where this was going. "She wants to go to a private school in California," Dad said. "It's not cheap, but it's a great opportunity, and well, she has a future there. She's going to major in communications. That school's got amazing networking." I was silent, waiting, holding my breath. "So we're thinking," Mum said, still not looking at me, "maybe you could give her your college fund." There it was. No apology, no discussion, just a decision, dressed up as a suggestion. My entire life, they'd been setting me up to be the quiet one, the easy one, the one who could take the hit so Lily wouldn't have to. I didn't speak for a long time. I just looked at them, my parents, these people who were supposed to believe in me, who had never once asked what I wanted or what I dreamed of. Dad fidgeted. Mum finally glanced over, clearly annoyed that I hadn't just nodded and said, "Sure. You're smart, Daniel," she said, like that was the justification. "You'll figure it out. Lily just needs a boost." That phrase, "you'll figure it out." They'd said that to me when my bike got stolen and they wouldn't replace it, when I needed help with calculus and they didn't want to pay for tutoring, when Lily had a tantrum over not getting new shoes, and they gave her the money they'd promised me for a debate trip. I could feel my hands shaking under the table, but I stayed calm. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just slowly reached into my backpack, pulled out a plain envelope, and slid it across the table. "What's this?" Dad asked. "Read it," I said quietly. Mum opened it. Her eyes moved across the page, slowly at first, then faster. She read it again. Dad leaned in. The silence in that room was deafening. "A full-ride scholarship. MIT. One of the most competitive programs in the country. I've known for a month," I said. "I was going to tell you, but then I figured you'd be busy with Lily." No one spoke. Lily was still on the couch, frozen, her phone in her lap. Dad cleared his throat, like he was about to say something, but I stood up before he could. "I packed last night," I said, grabbing my bag. "My flight's tomorrow. Orientation starts early for scholars." Mum stepped forward like she wanted to stop me, maybe say something motherly for once in her life. But she didn't. She just stood there, helpless and stunned. I walked out the front door, past the car they said they couldn't afford to help me buy, past the mailbox where I used to check every day for birthday cards that never came, past the flower beds Lily used to trample when she got mad and blamed me for. And I didn't look back. I didn't say goodbye. I just kept walking. My bag wasn't heavy, but my chest was. Not from regret, not from sadness either. It was something else. Relief, maybe. A strange, painful kind of peace. The kind you feel when a wound finally closes, even if the scar will stay forever. I got into the rideshare I'd already booked, looked back once, not at the house but at the driveway where I used to shoot hoops with a flat basketball because we're not wasting money on another one. I watched the door. No one came out. Not Lily, not Mum, not Dad. The driver didn't say much, just nodded when I said the airport. I remember resting my forehead against the window, letting the sunlight warm my skin, and for the first time in a long time, I breathed in a way that didn't feel like I had to earn it. I landed in Boston late the next day. It was grey and cold, but to me, it felt like a new world. I found my dorm, met my roommate, a robotics prodigy from Japan, and unpacked in silence. Every photo of my family I'd brought with me, I left in the bottom drawer. I didn't hang them up. I told myself I'd decide what to do with them later. They didn't deserve to be part of this new chapter. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Over the next few weeks, life moved fast. MIT was like drinking from a fire hose. Every class, every student, every moment was intense and demanding, but I thrived. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the background character. I wasn't Lily's brother. I was just Daniel, and Daniel was finally enough. But then came the messages. It started as a single text from my mum. "We're proud of you. Can we talk soon?" I didn't respond. Then a call from Dad. I watched the screen light up with his name, let it ring to voicemail. "Just wanted to hear how things are going. Lily's really sorry about everything." I hadn't heard her voice once, not before I left, not since. Then Lily herself finally texted me weeks later. I'll never forget it. "Hey, sorry if things got weird. I didn't ask them to do that. I was just trying to follow my dream too." She attached a selfie of her on a California beach, sunglasses, smile, and a caption that said, "Cali Life #future media star." No apology, just a subtle flex, as if my college fund was something she earned by simply existing. Still, I said nothing. It wasn't until mid-October that the story truly came full circle. I'd just finished a late seminar when I got an email from the dean's office. They were hosting a dinner for new full-ride students, donors, and select families. It was meant to be this big celebration of our potential, and the people who helped us get there. Every student was allowed to invite 2 guests, 2 seats. I stared at that line for a long time. I didn't have anyone to invite. Not really. But I thought of someone. Mr. Gellner, my old high school physics teacher. He was the only one who believed I could do something big. The one who wrote my letter of recommendation, when no one else would. I emailed him. He said yes immediately. At the dinner, surrounded by polished suits and expensive dresses, I stood a little taller. The room was buzzing with conversations, laughter, the clink of glasses. A few parents gave speeches. One mum broke down crying while talking about how hard her son worked to get in. I clapped politely. It was touching, honest. I felt a twinge of something, but not jealousy, just distance, like I was watching a movie I wasn't cast in. When I stood to speak, each scholar had a moment to say something. I thanked Mr. Gellner, thanked the university, thanked the people who'd shown up in my life, however briefly, and made me feel seen. Then I paused. My eyes scanned the crowd. "I want to dedicate this moment to the people who taught me silence," I said. "To the ones who thought I'd just figure it out. You were right. I did." I smiled. A few people clapped, not quite sure what I meant, but Mr. Gellner gave me a knowing nod. The next day, my name was on the university's homepage. MIT Scholar's Speech highlights quiet strength and resilience. That same evening, I got another text from my dad. "We saw the article. Can we talk? Your mum's been crying." Another message from Lily. "Okay, seriously, that dinner thing, that was about us, wasn't it? Don't act like you're better than the rest of us now." Better? No, just finally free. I didn't answer. I was done explaining myself to people who never bothered to ask in the first place. But here's where things took a turn. A few days later, something unexpected arrived in my inbox. A scanned copy of a withdrawal form from the California school Lily had enrolled in. And right below that, a GoFundMe link titled, "Help Lily Get Back on Her Feet. College Dreams Derailed by Unfair System." My stomach dropped when I saw the donor list. Guess who had already contributed? My parents. $5,000. That's when something inside me shifted again. Not hurt, not disappointment, but something colder, like I'd been holding back too much, too long. That night, I opened a new document on my laptop. I started writing something public, not a rant, not a cry for sympathy, just the truth. And it was time the world finally heard it. I spent 2 full nights writing it, between classes and lab work, and late-night ramen in the dorm kitchen. I kept coming back to that blank page, and with every word I typed, it felt like I was taking back a piece of myself I didn't even know I'd lost. I titled the post, "When They Said She Has a Future, and Left Me Behind," and uploaded it to Medium under my real name. Not some anonymous vent, not some private blog. I wanted them to see it. The post told everything. How I'd worked for years while my sister coasted, how I'd built my applications in silence while they bought her ring lights and vacation trips, how they told me to give up my future without hesitation, how I left without saying goodbye, not out of spite, but because there was never really a goodbye to give because emotionally, they'd left me behind years ago. I attached a copy of my MIT acceptance letter, redacted my ID info, just left enough to be clear I wasn't making this up. I even linked Lily's GoFundMe at the end. I didn't say anything cruel. I didn't tell people not to donate. I just asked one question. If she has a future, why did they think I didn't? Within hours, it started spreading. Comments came in fast. Students, adults, even some parents sharing their own stories. One guy said it was like reading about his life in real time. Another said, "You've inspired me to apply to college again. I dropped out because I believed them when they said I wouldn't make it." A few people tracked down Lily's GoFundMe and started asking questions in the comments. Why wasn't her family fundraising for both kids? Where was their support when I was applying? Some even shared screenshots of my article directly on the page. By the end of the week, the fundraiser was locked, donations disabled, the page scrubbed of any mention of me. And then came the voicemails. "Daniel." Mum's voice cracked. "What you wrote? It's not fair. You're painting us like monsters. We were doing what we thought was best. Lily needed the help. That money, it was never meant to hurt you. Please, can we talk?" Then Dad, "It's gone too far, son. Take it down. This isn't just about you anymore. Your sister's been getting threats. Your mother's not sleeping. Please." And finally Lily. "I can't believe you would humiliate me like that. Do you think I wanted to take your fund? Do you think this has been easy for me? I'm your sister, Daniel. Or at least I was." That one stung a little. Not because I wanted her sympathy, but because, for a second, it showed what this was all about to her. Image, not family, not remorse, reputation. But I didn't respond. Not to any of them. Instead, I went to my professor, Dr. Harland, an older man who'd been at MIT longer than I'd been alive. He was mentoring me through a research assistant position, and I trusted him. I asked him if I'd gone too far, if maybe I should take it down. He just looked at me over his glasses and said, "Daniel, it takes a lot of courage to speak the truth, when silence has always been expected of you. You didn't go too far. They just never thought you'd go anywhere." That same week, I got invited to speak at a panel on first-generation students and family dynamics. Someone from the article had passed my name along. They wanted me to share my story. Not just the scholarship, not just the drama, but everything. So I did. I stood in front of over 200 people, students, professors, alumni, and told them exactly what it felt like to grow up in a house that only had one golden child, and it wasn't you. What it meant to have to prove your worth over and over again, until you weren't even doing it for love anymore, just survival. After the panel, a woman came up to me in tears. She said, "I wish my son had someone like you to hear from when he was your age. Maybe he wouldn't have given up." That night, I cried for the first time in years. Not because I was sad, but because for the first time ever, I didn't feel invisible. But then something happened I didn't expect. An email from my grandmother. She's in her 80s, lives in Florida, we don't talk much, but she used to send me birthday cards with $20 inside and always called me her little genius. The email was short, just 2 sentences. "I read what you wrote. I had no idea. You deserve better, sweetheart." She ended it with, "P.S. check your bank account." I did. $10,000. No explanation, no lecture, just action. I don't know what it meant to her, or if she'd seen the GoFundMe, but it was the first time someone in my family gave me something without making me beg for it. And that money? I didn't use it on tuition. I started a program with a few classmates, a mentorship fund for kids like me, first quiet ones, overlooked and underestimated. We called it the Invisible Scholars Initiative. We launched our website, started hosting info sessions in underfunded high schools, offering mock interviews, essay feedback, and a small scholarship for one student each semester, funded from that original 10 grand. MIT caught wind of it and backed us, and suddenly I wasn't just a student anymore. I was a founder, a leader, a name worth remembering. Back home, I heard through a mutual friend that Lily ended up taking a gap year, said she needed time to heal from online hate. My parents, no idea. They've stopped trying to contact me for now. Maybe they'll try again, maybe not. But here's the thing. I used to wait for their approval like it was oxygen. Now, I'm finally learning how to breathe without it. It was the middle of winter when the final act began, snow blanketing the sidewalks of Cambridge, crisp air stinging my face as I walked to the lab. MIT was quiet that morning, but my phone was not. It buzzed non-stop with texts, emails, and voicemail notifications. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I saw the subject line that changed everything. "You've been tagged in a family post." I opened the link, and there it was. A Facebook post from my mother, public, long and dramatic. She'd written a 4-paragraph open letter to the world. It was carefully worded, drenched in self-pity, and just vague enough to avoid specifics, but I knew exactly who it was about. She wrote about how some children forget who raised them, how gratefulness has been lost in this generation, and how supporting one child shouldn't be twisted into abuse of another. She ended it with a photo of Lily, fake tears in her eyes, sitting on the floor with college brochures scattered around her, captioned, "Still holding on to her dreams even with everything that's happened, #family is forever." The comments were predictable. "You're so strong. Your kids are lucky to have you. Shame on whoever hurt your family like this." But not all of them. People had read my article, shared it, remembered it. Some had screenshots. Others linked it directly in the comments. "Isn't this the woman who told her son to give up his college fund for the daughter? Wait, isn't the daughter the one who made that GoFundMe right after he got a scholarship? I read Daniel's story. She's gaslighting the whole internet." The tide turned in real time. I didn't even need to comment. The community spoke for me. Within 2 days, the post was deleted. But the fallout, that took a little longer. They tried calling again, texting, even emailing my student account. "This time," Dad wrote, "we didn't know you'd make it. That's not an excuse, but it's the truth." Mum said, "You embarrassed us, but I suppose we deserved it." Lily sent one last message. "Congrats on your little program. I hope it keeps you warm at night." It didn't make me angry. It just made me tired. I blocked them all again, but this time it felt different. Final. 2 months later, I got another email, this time from MIT's Alumni Relations Office. They'd seen the buzz, the article, the mentorship initiative. They wanted to nominate me for a Student Impact Award at graduation, said my work had already helped 4 high school students get into top-tier colleges with scholarships. One of them was from my hometown, the same school Lily and I went to. That night, I sat on my dorm bed, looking out over the snow-covered campus, and thought about who I used to be, the boy who sat quietly at the kitchen table while they planned Lily's future with my money. The boy who waited for someone to notice he was gone. In his place stood someone new, not just accepted, not just surviving, but seen, heard, respected. At graduation, I wore the same cap and gown as everyone else, but my name got called last. They saved my award for the end. As I stood on stage, the dean handed me a plaque. Cameras flashed. Applause echoed. I glanced out at the crowd, full of people who believed in me, who didn't even know me just a few years ago, and still chose to clap anyway. And I realized something. I didn't need to be part of the family I was born into. I built my own, one that never asked me to give up my future, just so someone else could have one. I walked off that stage, not just with a degree, but with closure.